And we're moving on with an interview. My guest tonight is Chris Holzen, who's the chairman of the Ukrainian branch of Republicans overseas. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Andrii. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. You've been serving for International Republic Institute for 30 years, so you're very much aware of how things are in the region. And let's start with this. So Ukraine and Poland, geographically, is the territory which was overrun, fucked over, trying to obtain by various countries, thousands of years. And it's been a place of geopolitical threats all the time. But what are those geopolitical threats right now here in this region?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest geopolitical threat is having Russian tanks, looking at Przemyśl across the river, right? I mean, Poland is in a position right now where it is helping Ukraine in what is for Ukraine is existential, right? Putin's worst nightmare is Poland and Ukraine working together.
So you served for 30 years with IRI, and R stands for Republican. My question is, are you a Republican yourself?
So I am a Republican, but I think it is important to point out that the International Republican Institute is a nonprofit organization that is nonpartisan.
You're spending money of American taxpayers.
That's correct. That's correct.
Let's imagine Donald Trump wins.
That's very possible.
That's very possible. To what kind of Armageddon? Myself here, right now in Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, Ukraine, Russia. What do we have to be prepared for? What kind of Armageddon if Trump wins?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't pose the question that way.
Okay.
One of the things right now, these are candidates running for office, and they're running in a primary. So they're trying to appeal to the base of the party. So naturally, the things that they're going to say are probably a little bit more extreme than how they would actually govern.
Understood. So not Armageddon is canceled? It's going to be fine?
Well, let me ask you this. So if Trevor Noah said that there was Armageddon going to happen, and we had the person get elected who he said the Armageddon would happen, did we have Armageddon? No.
Well, in a way, you did. At least
we're still here. Armageddon's usually, the planet blows up.
At least how late night show hosts described the time since 2016 when Trump served until Biden, it was the Armageddon time, and that's where we jump into the late night shows.
I don't know. The stock market went up quite a bit. There were a lot of positive reforms. I would strongly disagree with that.
I like that we are disagreeing on this. Right. And you were a fan of Johnny Carson, who was the role model for many people like myself sitting here. He was the best.
Yeah.
I agree. And then now there's no Johnny Carson. There are plenty of other late night show hosts, and they covered Trump and they covevered everyday politics and everything. How did they do that, you think?
Well, they were addicted to Trump. I mean, you turn on the shows every night, and he gave them a lot of material to work with, right? And so, while I don't think that they support him, by constantly keeping him in the news and talking about him, helped him. It's almost like this symbiotic relationship. The media doesn't like Trump, Trump doesn't like the media, but they need each other. And at the end of the day, it's unfortunate because it makes people believe less in the honesty of both, which is not good. It's not.
It's not good. And as an American, how would you gauge the level of general level of how people are trusting each other, to the government, to each other, to the media? Has it increased or decreased from when Obama was
in I think it was 2015, I attended a conference, European Forum for New Ideas, EFNI. They hold this in Sopot, and they had a panel on with all these people from tech companies and social media, and they all said the question was, is this good where we're headed? And there was one woman, Agnieszka Holland, the famous movie director from Poland, and she. And I thought it was odd because why is a director on this panel? But she said, no, I think these things like Facebook and they're going to drive us apart, not bring us together. And at the time, everyone in the room thought she was crazy, including myself. And yet she turned out right. To answer your question, that people are more at each other's throats. The discourse is tougher, and it's because people they're getting their information in bubbles and in vacuums, and then they're assuming that everyone should be like that.
Right.
So I don't know the answer.
Do you have your own bubble?
For sure, yeah.
And if you would describe it in 5 words, verbs, I don't know, pronouns, what would it be?
Pro-Ukraine, 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 and pro-Ukraine.
And
That's
let's all watch a little bit of how Chris Holzen is pro-Ukrainian.
Oh.
Let's watch this video first. Thank you. Wonderful.
So so that was actually a few weeks ago. I was at the Appalachian String Band Music Festival, which takes place every year in Cliff Top, West Virginia.
All right,
and
all
I
right.
go there with most of the people in that video are members of my family, cousins, uncle.
You guys are talented, creative people.
We have fun. We like the music. But the gentleman in the red shoes is a guy named Casey Dreesen. Now, Casey actually was nominated for a Grammy for Best Instrumental Album, I want to say 2006 or 2007. One of the top fiddle players in the United States. And there's something called fiddle camps, where people who play the fiddle, and they go to these camps. And I had learned they always choose one song to try to learn. It could be like, 300 students. And they chose Chervona Kalina last year to learn. So believe it or not, half of those people there already knew that song. The other half we had to teach them. It's in the key of D minor, which is not easy to play in, so they weren't happy about that. But
And Kalina is more the kind of sad songs, a sad composition, but you did it in
it's a lament. So I had some friends who actually reached out to me and said, it's not appropriate to do it in this sort of upbeat version. And we actually did a version that is the appropriate speed. But I thought, why not? I mean, it's also a hopeful song, right? It's singing to the, to something bad that's happening, but it's saying, lift your head up, that this will pass.
Ukrainian topic and also
Sure.
Russo-Ukrainian topic. The falling down from the sky, Prigozhin being killed with the heads of, at least how it's confirmed, with the heads of Wagner Group.
Right.
What is it a sign of for you? Like, what do you think is it really strategically? What does it mean?
The gangsters will always be gangsters. They kill each other. They have to do it more publicly when they're weaker. So the fact that Putin's willing to shoot this out of the sky so everyone could see.
I'm very curious with how it's gonna really evolve inside of Russia. F-16s, are you happy with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? They should have been provided on day one.
That's a great question. What stopped you guys from providing that to Ukraine on day one?
They probably thought that there was, enough Russian agents embedded in the Ukrainian army, which is probably true at certain levels. You're going to share this technology. You can't,
Right.
So you've got to set up structures in advance to make sure that that it's not just how do you fly this, but who's going to have access to all this stuff. And when you're not sure, it takes time to do that. So I can understand that it wasn't something to be done right away, but they're coming.
They're coming. Okay. Regional things. So the war definitely implicates the lives of the nearby countries, from Baltic states to Romania, of course. You've been here in the region for the last 30 years, and you've been observing how democracy is rising or decreasing in power in various countries. And I want to get your top list of the countries that performed the best in governing in a democratic way. Starting from the Baltic states, we can do one by one. I'm going to name them, and you're going to tell great, bad, good. Estonia.
Great.
Latvia.
Good.
Lithuania.
Great.
Poland.
I would say great.
Even now.
I would, yeah.
Okay. Hungary.
Good.
Good?
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate that here a bit? But Orban, I know they're a democratic
Your
country.
question was not about Orban. Your
Okay, I
question
agree.
was whether or not what I thought about whether its democracy was working.
Okay, let's move on to Slovakia.
Well, headed in a very bad direction, I think, soon.
Oh, all right, I see.
But in the past few years, I would say great.
Romania.
Oh, good.
And then a little bit of Bulgaria is there as well. What do you think?
For Bulgaria,
Yeah.
very good.
Very good. And let's call Turkey for this matter.
Look, Turkey's complicated, but they had an election. The challenger came very close to winning. There is political competition in Turkey, right? So I'm not one of these people who says that Turkey is this dictatorship, but It's a complicated situation.
Who do you think will win in Poland? And will peace lose the majority or will remain in power?
You know, I would never answer that question.
And on this terrible disappointment, we're going to finish our show. Chris, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
To my viewers, I'm going to be back in a sec.